10 years ago, podcasting was taking off on YouTube. And YouTube panicked, took a dump on the floor, and nuked the reach of all of these independent podcast channels. Apple owned the space, Spotify rising in the ranks, and only recently did YouTube start to take back the podcasting space. Think about how stupid you have to be to literally own the podcasting space and ban it in panic. That's literally what they did. Today, despite the fact that shows like this have substantially more relevance than the likes of Rachel Maddow, of which she gets 68,000 in the key demo, YouTube will still prop them up in the algorithm and give them preferred, trusted access. Now, it's going to change because there's an obvious trend happening. Donald Trump wins, and they're referring to it as the podcast presidency. People are starting to get their news and information more, in general, from podcasts. And sooner or later, there's going to be a critical mass that tells YouTube to shut up and get this garbage CNN off my front page. Until then, we need to be vocal and tell them it's enough. YouTube started to change a little bit, but for the love of all that is holy, shut down this trusted news garbage. Just because a powerful, wealthy investor put money behind a guy in a suit does not mean he is correct. And it's time we change that.
Do you think a lot of that has to do with the fact that YouTube's connection with Google and they want preferred treatment from the government before, after Trump came in the office, they were hoping that post-Trump presidency that they would be prevented from growing,
I think it's bigger than that. I think that they're all partners of the global public-private partnership of the World Economic Forum and the UN. They're all in on it. If you go look at it, Google is a main partner, as is, BlackRock and all these other people that are really running all this stuff. And frankly, I believe that they are protecting them and that they are all in on not the great narrative was written by Klaus Schwab after the Great Reset. This is all about, remember, just last week, just when Trump was inaugurated, they had the Davos meeting. At the Davos meeting, the number one thing was fighting misinformation and disinformation. They had people from Google speaking, from AP speaking, from the New York Times speaking. These are their media. That's the great narrative proponents. Those are the people that push them. That's why. And frankly, like I said, since 2015, they decided they were going to push this on all of us on planet Earth, this idea, this dystopian future technocracy, totalitarian agenda, and anyone that's not going along with it, they were going to silence. And that is exactly what they've done. And now we see it.
And to Mel's point, anyone that thinks that this is just made up or whatever, she's referencing a book that was written. You can go read the book. You can go read The Great Reset. You can go read The Great Narrative. These are books that are written, and all of this stuff is laid out. It is not some kind of it's not a secret. It's not something that's hidden. All you have to do is go and read the books written by the people that want to implement this stuff. Klaus Schwab is very big on letting people know exactly what he wants to do and what he believes.
And remember that the reason why they wanted to prop up their own networks is because they haven't found a way to move into politics in a way that somehow feels authentic, meaning that they want to create their own Joe Rogan, as they said after the election, but they don't know how to do that because they don't know how to do it. They can do it with liberal women for some reason. They can do it with podcasts like Call Her Daddy. They can pull in liberal women into their agenda, but they have a very hard time getting into traditional politics with something that feels authentic because you either have bread tubers or you have a dude in a suit telling you that Barack Obama was the greatest president of all time.
Bread tubers are suffering right now.
Yeah, is that connected to USA idea? I have no idea.
I don't know. Well, Vosh says that
probably
that it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think we also have to realize, I always go back to that NATO cognitive warfare document, Battle for the Brain. I don't know if you guys have all seen it. Gray Zone put it out first. It was a confidential document. I guess NATO's innovation hub is right near here. Basically, it was a battle for your brain and talking about how they were using social media and media in general to divide and conquer people within our nation and nations around the world so that we didn't deal with the real problem, which is a very big push to end the sovereignty of nation states. And so at this point, I really think that we are in a cognitive warfare on a massive scale, and anything that they can do to confuse the situation. So maybe looking at Doge and all that isn't really our biggest problem. Maybe looking at what we can do during the next 18 months before these people start, going into the midterms, like what we can do locally, looking at all these NGOs course, have local situations all over the country, all these sustainable development goals, UN, World Economic Forum, Open Society. They infiltrated the local communities first. If we, the people, stand up right now and actually take control, not look at Trump and DC, the sewer, look at the swamp in our own backyards. That's why I wrote Americans Anonymous, and get together for freedom, liberty, privacy. Those are the things that are on the line, and do the real hard work, heavy lifting ourselves. Like, people are, oh, the founders said this, the founders said that. America's not even 250 years old. We are the founders. So at this point, I think we have an option to save the country, because, you know, Trump's always saying, they're not after me, they're after you, I'm in the way. I think they're not after America, they're after world, and America and the Constitution are in the way.
I
And that's where I
strongly
feel like
agree
we
with
are.
that. The Constitution is a uniquely resilient document. It's a really, really, really solid piece of government, a way to lay out a government. It's very resilient. It does resist tyranny. It takes a lot of work to it's taken a lot of work to get to this stuff. A lot of unconstitutional stuff that has been slipped by. A lot of misusing things like the Commerce Clause and misusing the Necessary and Proper Clause. Those two things right there have made for a lot of the garbage that's on its face unconstitutional. But you get a court to just say, well, the Necessary and Proper Clause says that we need this, or the Commerce Clause says that we can do this because it's supposed to make regulate interstate commerce, which I'm not even going to get into what regulate meant back then. But yeah, the point is, the Constitution is very, very resilient, but it takes people that believe in it and actually put their elected officials to the test and say, look, this is what the Constitution says. Because if you don't do that, then the Constitution is just a piece of paper.
And I think we've been mind controlled and manipulated to think that we're powerless and that the Constitution is just a piece of paper and it's nothing. And you've heard Obama, the fundamental transformation of America was about destroying the Constitution and the foundation of this country. We have a chance right now to take it back. But if the American people don't realize they're the answer isn't in D.C. and it's not in the courts, it's in American people holding their local politicians accountable and being the actual news for their neighbors and getting together and like freedom cells like Derek Brose suggests, or I suggest Americans Anonymous, and not make it left and right, Republican, Democrat is just a fraud to raise money. What it is it's about people that believe in the Constitution, inalienable rights, and our sovereignty, and people who don't care.
It's one of the reasons why the left is so gung-ho about the idea of packing the court, why they come back to that all the time, and why they love the idea of getting rid of the Electoral College, right? Because they don't actually believe in what our democracy actually means. Our is the important word for them there.
Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.